Good evening, solid waste lovers. Welcome to the August 11th, I believe it is today, meeting of the Special Solid Waste Committee. I am going to do my due diligence and read this nice little excerpt from the governor. And I will need a motion afterwards, as you guys well know. This meeting of the Solid Waste Committee is being conducted electronically pursuant to Governor Bill Lee's Executive Order number 16. I would ask for a motion that conducting this meeting electronically is necessary to protect public health, safety, and welfare in light of the coronavirus.
So moved.
Thank you. Need a second?
Second.
Rachel.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sherino?
Yes.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Chairman Cush?
Yes. All right, gentlemen. Yes.
I hate to interrupt you.
Yes,
because
sir.
You're on such a roll. But last week we had just a little miscommunications. And I would like to remind people this week if there's any dollar numbers in any of these reports, let's not say them out loud. Just a friendly reminder.
Duly noted. It's all, we'll keep it fair, Ref. All right, we reviewed for this week 3 more RFI applicants, which is going to leave us 3 remaining, which we will finish up at our next meeting. And in batting order, that would be, well, I guess we only have 2 left after this, right? We start with here we go. Start with Republic, right? So Republic, Rockwood, and the Compost Company is on tonight's discussion, and that will leave us with Waste Away, Waste Alliance, and Waste Management. So as those of you who looked at Republic's nice, beautiful book here, they basically pre-qualified themselves early on that they're very much appreciative to working with Rutherford County, and they went on to say how much involvement they've had in the community and been with us for many, many years, 30 years to be exact, and that they are going to keep it very close to the vest in terms of what they're going to do for the RFP, and that they have basically given us a general overlay of the company, which we've all seen in a time or two from their past visits. So I'm not sure there's a whole lot to discuss about Republic at this point in time, other than they will be moved to the RFP qualification selection. And I'm going to open it up for any questions or comments regarding Republic's RFI. I'll give you time to catch up if you need it, but otherwise we'll add it to the list and move on. Commissioner Blair.
Chairman, talking to Mac prior to the start of the meeting with this conceptual land use plan.
What page is that on?
It's in the appendix.
Okay.
And at the bottom it just says land use plan. And
60. Page 60.
60. Yep. About two pages.
I guess Mac numbered them then. I guess there was something that I had lost in some of the meetings, or at least this, to my mind, in my mind, it's the first time I was aware of it. But according to the conceptual land use plan, that dark olive green area is presently their property, correct, Mac?
Yes, everything in those colors are either our property or theirs.
In that yellow part to the north, approximately, that's available expansion for them. Have they already? I think the state does 5-year expansions. Have they already applied for that?
They have not applied for that expansion yet.
How many acres does that little triangle contain? Are you aware?
Are you talking about the yellow one to the north?
Sir?
Are you talking about the yellow one to the north?
To the north, yes, sir. I was not aware that property was there and available for expansion.
Commissioner Blair, one thing I had done last week, which will be on your iPads for the next Public Works meeting, but I will also email a PDF version. I'll send it to Rachel this week, and then she will disperse to you. Anticipating and wanting to know who the players are in this plot of land and the vicinity between our county landfill and Republic's property. I had Rob Mitchell pull landowners all around the circumference of both landfills with landowner names and property that belongs to us, Republic, and then the private sector. Because I want all of us to know if there's any little sliver that could make a huge, important difference to somebody in the future in moving one way or the other, if you understand where I'm going. Okay? So you'll have that information, and that's going to have the river boundary. It's going to have the property owners across the river, around the landfill, and I think it's important to know what property is still available that's under private ownership. I just think it's to our best interest to know if anybody's going to expand, what direction where the land might be available. So that might help you with your dilemma that you're looking at right there. So this map was pretty thorough that you'll be getting later this week or first of next. So I don't want anything to come up and bite us later on, because there was a piece of property that might connect to other properties that nobody knew about, and all of a sudden we have a pathway to some bigger piece of land. So I took due diligence to vet that out. Any other questions on Republic? Yes, sir, Shanto.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I know Republic here is local, and this have done a lot for the civic organization. Like last year, they said $200K
Right.
for the local. I just wonder if any way we can visit them here. It's not very far. I know Chairman Harris asked about the trip to the other country last time, and so it might be help us to learn from them more.
Are you asking about a meeting with them?
No, the trip to visit the site sometime in the future.
Yeah, okay. We will have an opportunity with the Republic and all those to have a very long discussion about their plan, our needs, their desires, as well as others. They have done a lot for the community in the last few years. And if you'll remember, that kind of was spurred by our whole conversation a couple of years ago about their lack of community involvement and kind of treating us like a stepchild. So they stepped up to the plate to do that. But that's a story for a different time. Thank you, Shanto.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner P., Chairman P.
I think what Chanto is talking about is a field trip for us to go to the facility. They had actually had one lined up for us, and they had a lot of rain and decided to hold off on that. But I wouldn't mind them letting us go tour their facility sometime again.
Yeah. Let me chat with Robert. Let me chat with legal about that. I want the county to certainly have full transparency on what we're doing. I know, early on, we've made some trips out west to view facilities. I just wonder what it might look like to the public, our constituents, if we did a tour now while we're in this RFI and in between the RFP process. I don't want it to look like we're showing any favoritism or that, hey, somebody, because you know what? I'm sure these other 11 people would like to show us around too. So I'm not opposed to a plant tour. I'm just not so sure that this is the right time. So I'm gonna defer to a legal question to our attorney. I just think a lot of folks might think that smells bad, me included. So pardon the pun. So if you don't mind, I'd like to table that request with counsel, with our attorney, to see what he feels about that. Is that fair?
It's okay with me.
Okay.
They had invited not only us, but some of the other groups. I know Recycle Rutherford had some people that were planning on going. So it's not just us that had requested a chance to tour their facility.
I think maybe in the RFP process that might be a better time. I don't want it to look like it's something improprietary if one of them, just because they're close by, gets a special treatment and the other ones don't. So I'm trying to be fair. All right. Does that make sense to everybody? Steve?
Before you leave this booklet, I think it's a good idea that you did do the search, having a search done on maybe some more land that could be expanded to on the Republic's landfill. But I also think anything that they do more than what's on their present footprint will have to come back to this full commission for a full vote, because didn't the Jackson law protect us on that?
Jackson law would protect if they're doing a new permit. If they do an expansion, then the Jackson law does not apply.
Cross property line of their footprint they have now. I know they can expand on their footprint.
Right. When they do an expansion, they're expanding onto new footprint. So the Jackson law does not apply. I'm not sure about property lines, if that makes a difference or not. But a new permit is where the Jackson law comes into effect.
That's a great point, and again, that probably needs some legal clarity on that. Will you help me remind a discussion with our county attorney about that? Or Rebecca that may be an assignment for Rebecca she has friends in low places apparently. Any further discussion on Republic? Mac, did you have something?
I think we need to look at what they're very vague, which at this point they should be. But they're offering collection, so they already do collection. What they're looking at there is probably if we want to go out for bid and do some curbside collection in different municipalities or large subdivisions or some of those type areas. Then the next page is you look at all the different things. They're even talking about the possibility of helping haul in our convenience centers and some of those type things. And then look at processing. They're looking at doing something other than landfilling. Solid waste or recycling. You keep on flipping. They're talking about composting. They mentioned a transfer station that they don't think there's one needed at this time. They did look at waste to energy with Fulcrum, which we had a presentation from them before. Then the possibility of transportations in the county. Looking at all that, and then. One thing that kind of piqued my interest on page 41 at the bottom, they're talking about trains. And they've got 6 landfills that are serviced by trains, and then they've got 20 different rail transfer stations that can ship stuff by train. So if you're looking at trying to get commodity out of the state and all the way to the west, the train possibility may be something that you want to look at. Mm-hmm. On page 43, is where they talk about disposal possibilities. That's where they talk about the expansion of the landfill, the permit in a section in the northwest area. That's that upper yellow point on that map on the back. And then they also talk about consolidating the Rutherford County landfills with Middle Point landfill. And then they talk about landfill. They're saying that they have approximately 7 years of life expectancy left. That's on page 44. And at the bottom of the page 44, I highlighted it, and you may want to as well. If they combine the two landfills, income from landfill host fees would be extended.
Yeah.
Across the landfill reclamation.
Yeah, page 50.
Go to page 50. Look at the last sentence on the left side. Nevertheless, the possibility would involve significant costs and would have to be covered by successfully permitting additional airspace and ending free disposal for the county. And then if you look at the very map on page 60 back there, it shows you that if you're not colorblind, you know, there's some people that actually colorblind. That doesn't help them a lot. But the map that you're going to create plus this one kind of helps explain that a little bit more.
All right. Yeah, there's a lot of promising things in this book. And we'll see in the RFP as to how far they're willing to go and partner with. Mayor, did you have some comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you're right, and Mac is right as well, as they are vague in this proposal because that's all it is an RFI. We'll see more detailed information when it comes to the RFP. But when they talk about curbside recycling, that's why it's so important when the RFP comes back, then that's when we engage the city, all the city players to see how engaged they want to be, because curbside is not going to happen in the rural areas unless you got a subdivision of 50 or more homes. I wouldn't think that it would be worth running a truck once a week through a subdivision, because if you're in Rockville and it's a half mile between every driveway, that doesn't pay. So we have to engage either the mayors or their designees as we start, this negotiations, once we narrow it down on the RFP and before we make that award, and then we hammer towards that last sentence, free disposal, ending free disposal, then we negotiate the best deal that we can as the host county.
Very good. All right. Any other?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Robert.
On that particular issue on the landfill reclamation, I think what they're talking about there are our landfills. I'm just curious if any of y'all picked up or got the idea whether they would look at reclaiming their current landfill too, along with ours, if we decided to do some kind of reclamation of our landfills.
Their proposal for reclamation on our landfill is not truly a reclamation. It would be joining our landfill with their landfill, but not actually digging up our landfill. Now, they did in their proposal said that they would do leachate collection system and a gas migration collection system to help us, but we would still wind up owning our landfill and share the liability with them.
Well, some of the other issues, that they talk about, the bio systems where they're picking up the gas and things like that. And, there was some talk of creating aircraft fuel from reclaiming the landfill. And I don't really have a good feel of any of that. Do you?
We had actually talked, Chairman, about the 20 acres we have at Singer Road, because it does have rail and a spur could be put in. It does have gas, natural gas line on that property. And that's where we talked about if Fulcrum was engaged with them or Waste Management, because both of them invest with either one of those, then that would be the location that you'd want to put Fulcrum type, and it's already zoned to put in some type of refinery like they have built in Reno, Nevada, I think is their first location.
Or do you think that'll come out in the RFP?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. I guess I was hoping for a little more information on that, so.
I think they'll be more specific in the RFP, and going back to that other company that we looked at the other night, the one from, what's it called?
Muir? Or-
Yeah, Muir.
Yeah.
I think they talked about doing something very similar of taking trash and turning it into diesel fuel instead of jet fuel, but they have a different process, so I think that location that we have would be appropriate for that there as well.
And then Planet Earth also was talking about turning it trash into a fuel source.
Right.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I think we could talk for over an hour just in this book right here with this company, but a lot of open doors here, and I think that's why they are vague, because it's supposed to be the RFI instead of the RFP. And, we continue to confuse the two just because of the process we're in and trying to get all the information for the RFI so we can put out a proper RFP that's got everything that we want. And so to just add to page 50 there, what we were talking about there, the liability is not there in the black and white, and it's a partnership. So we've got further talk in all this as soon as we put out, but I think they structured it this way just to pique the interest and tell them that they're interested, or to show us that they're interested, as well as some of these other companies. They're interested, but we're going to wait until the RFP before we give you all the nuts and bolts to what we're wanting to do.
Yeah, I agree. And Deputy, thank you for bringing us back down to earth. And we're also eager to learn and to move forward. That we got to slow the wheels down just a little bit sometimes. So I appreciate you reminding us of that. Yeah, it is very cool, and we'll need to look at it a couple more times before the RFP meeting as well. All right, if you don't mind, let's continue on with Rockwood Sustainable Solutions. Rockwood is a fairly local group, a recycling company, and if you guys know, they've already been recycling shingles for about a half a dozen years now. They claim that they've removed about 25,000 cubic yards over the last 6 years of material from the landfill every year. Their proposal to consider is building a transfer station and partnering up with different groups to pull organics and compost them locally. Also partner up with the cardboard and plastics company for some recycling options too. So again, they're not asking, they're a niche market, so and a strong player in a niche market. So any questions, comments? What did you see, or have anything you want to say about Rockwood? You've been dealing with them for a little while, haven't you, Mac? Okay.
If you look on page 2 near the bottom, sorting and processing of C&D materials, a lot of the other things that we've looked at is not mentioned C&D materials. They're a little bit harder to manage. And then on the next page, he's talking about doing some composting and several landfill options. One thing he had in there was furniture. Most people don't mention furniture, the bulk items, and how to get rid of those, and it's kind of grinding those. And a lot of what is in here is working together, is putting different pieces together for an integrated solid waste system. That's where a lot of this is headed.
Part of the puzzle. Any more comments? Mr. Pearson.
I'd like to hear what Becky knows about this company.
So this is a local company. They're out of Lebanon. They have been around for several years. I want to say it's 10 years. What I did was looked at each piece of, again, the puzzle pieces that we've asked for. They have recommended an integrated approach, as Mac mentioned, basically looking for the county to partner with private organizations to stay engaged, but also to form strong partnerships so that you have the working relationships, but you do still have some control over the functions. They do cover all different waste streams. One of the things that they've mentioned is on page 7. They talk about C&D sorting and processing, and they mention that several places, but then they go on to give some more details there with the bullet points in the middle. One of the things about C&D is the C&D waste is not, as we've said, it's not typically residential waste. It's not what's produced by our residents in the community, but it is waste that's filling up landfill space. So basically, the more C&D that you can pull out and do something useful with or manage in a different way, you're saving that landfill space that can be used for actual municipal solid waste. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. Anybody else? All right. They will move on to the RFP phase, and the compost company, again, a local, I say local, a Middle Tennessee organization. We have also, I believe, done dealings with the compost company in the past. Is that right, Mac? No, we have not? Okay. All right. Becky or Mac, do you have any intel on this group?
One of our solid waste directors roundtable meeting, we met in Cheatham County and did tour the facility. That's the only time I've been there. They've got a pretty cool looking operation. They admitted that when they first started, they had some issues and some odor problems, and the neighbors weren't happy, but they've overcome all those issues, and neighbors kind of welcome them to be there. They would be interested in partnering and being near a landfill or near where the food waste is coming. You know, if somebody's trying to separate it out or something like that.
Okay. You know, oh, go ahead, Mayor. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had met with, there are two brothers who actually own the composting facility. They had a booth at the Lawn and Garden Fair back in the spring, and I went by the booth, and the younger brother had his older brother come and meet with me back in the spring. They've got a very aggressive operation down there, and they're collecting all the food waste from the Music City Convention Center, Marriott hotels, etc. They do a pretty good job of very clean operation. I was real impressed with them, so I think that they would be willing to kind of join in with whatever piece of the puzzle we decide to pick. They'd just like to be at the table to express their interest, if you will, in the way that they compost. Do a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm. You know, one of the questions when we get to the RFP process for some of these companies, not all, you know, is their capacity, the availability for capacity.
Right.
And it looks like the compost company does have the capacity to do what they're doing. So just remember, when we have these discussions down the road, we got to make sure the folks that we deal with have the current capacity or have the ability to grow to the capacity that we need, whatever that case may be. Commissioner Blair.
Out of these 12 respondents, I guess, or whatever you want to call them, several big boys and a number of specialty companies.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, and I apologize if this question is too early in the process to ask, but so again, hypothetically, we pick several specialty companies to partner to be the solution of our solid waste issue. would they be coordinated by the solid waste program with Mac as director? Is that how we would how that would operate? Again, if you have several pieces of the puzzle, you know, with different providers.
I have an opinion on that. Becky is probably much better suited to answer that, but a solid waste utility, I know we have kind of chatted about a utility in the past, and I think half the room would be for it, half the room would be against it. But yeah, there could be a group, small group, and a leader, such as a Mac or a Rebecca or somebody that we find that could manage a county.
Solid Waste Authority.
Yeah, authority. Yeah, I said utility. Authority is the right word. So I'll defer to the mayor and Rebecca if they have any.
And I think for those who went to Sevierville, we saw Sevier County had a solid waste authority made up of representatives from Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, city, and then the county.
Sevierville, Pigeon Forge County. Yeah, that was it, I think. Yeah. Sequatchie County, yeah.
Oh, and the National Park, I
Yeah.
think, participated in that as well.
So
That's another
handful of
structure.
players.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
handful of players they were all partners and all stakeholders in it. And then they have a leader.
Yeah, because not everyone wants to be involved in the day-to-day operations. You may just want to take those pieces of the puzzle and see if which ones are compatible and fit together, if we choose to go with different or we go with one big one. I think we'll have a better determination once the RFPs come back in, which directions we want to go. I mean, I like the roof shingles too, you know.
Mm-hmm. You know, one of the questions that we ultimately have to decide when we see all the cards laid out on the table is, does the county even want to be in the solid waste business?
Yeah.
Do we turn that over to a private-public partnership? I mean, there's a number of ways that this can be managed, but until the cards are on the table, we don't really know which direction to go. So I'm sure all of us have some opinions, but on the county involvement, but we won't know until it's all laid out. And again, you also have to then decide, are we just going to deal with Rutherford County trash, or are we going to branch out and have to take in more to feed the monkey? So we got a lot to learn yet. Any other questions, Mac? I see you reaching for the microphone.
Venturing out, I agree with what the mayor said. If you're going to have other governments involved, you're going to need some kind of board or
Mm-hmm.
We've got private partners and they need more trash to make their operation run, then I think that would be up to them to find the trash and not us.
Right. Yeah. You know, the more we talk, the more our wheels keep clicking in their head. If that is the scenario, not saying it's not going to be, but if that is the scenario, then we also have to take into consideration, okay, what's that going to do to our public infrastructure, our roads or highways, our roads to and from the facilities? That has a huge impact on our own infrastructure, which ultimately we and our constituents, taxpayers, have to pay for. So I want somebody besides us to pay for that. So you can see where this conversation grows into a giant wish list or demand list if we're going to go outside the company and those trucks are going to be tearing up our asphalt and concrete roads.
And do we have the legal authority, Mr. Chairman, to determine what routes that those trucks travel to empty their trash? Can we designate them to just state routes to let the state pick up that tab?
Yeah.
Or do we allow them on our private roads to where we have to Not only fix the roads, but pick all the trash it blows out.
Yeah. Yeah, at some point in time, they're going to have to touch our roads, so a lot to hash out.
A lot of that's going to depend on how well you build your partnership and your relationship. The old BFI, when I was a driver there, Tom Harrington ran it, and you better not be on Jefferson Pike.
Yeah.
Community didn't want the trucks on Jefferson Pike, so we were told not to be on it. You know, so a lot of those are built. The other thing you may want to look at, there's some over in the Leanna area, piece of property, large piece of property is getting ready to go to industrial type use, more like warehousing, and it's going to be between Sulphur Springs Road, which does have an exit, and Shacklet Road, which does not. You know, area
The
similar
Sulphur Springs development, commercial development, is that what you're talking about?
right alongside of 840. So I assume it's going to be more like warehouse district type things. But an area similar to that is where a lot of these facilities will need to go. You get right off the interstate and you get right into where you're going, you get back on the interstate and go where you need to go. You know, the Guy James property where the dairy farm is, I got a call Monday. Guy was moving here and he said, and he called me on my cell phone. I got your cell phone number, and they said, you're the man to answer the question. I said, all right, what's your question? There's a rumor going around that the county is going to buy the dairy farm from the old Guy James farm and put a landfill on it. I said, that rumor is backwards. What? I said, the county sold them that dairy farm, and no, they're not going to buy it back. But can you imagine trying to get 400 trucks a day in and out of there? You know, so we don't need to be in areas like that.
We did think about that back in the 90s.
That's what the county bought it for.
That's what we bought it for, the Guy James property.
And that's why the commissioner in District 4 pushed to sell it.
That's why they're making chocolate milk out there now, right?
That's exactly right.
All right. Our next and final RFI review set meeting is August 19th at 6 o'clock. That will finish up our RFI review. And just as a reminder, we currently have a meeting set for the 20th at 5:30 and the 26th at 5:30. And at this point in time, I guess all we would be doing on those meetings would be talking about an RFP draft and putting that into motion, because that is definitely our next step, since we are moving everybody to the RFP process. So Becky, let me ask you, and I think you discussed this at the last meeting that I was absent, what kind of a time frame do you and Mac, you and this committee need to begin putting a draft that we can all sit down and discuss for an RFP?
What we had talked about before is August 20th. I would bring something to you. I don't picture that being a full draft of an RFP, but I do picture that being a list of questions and things that have been brought up over the past year that I've kept note of, and then also looking at certain things from each of the RFIs that we've looked at, things that you think about, things that you say, okay, yes, we would prefer that, or we need that in the RFP, or not really, that's not necessarily something we want to include in the RFP, so that we can use this process and the other information to actually create the foundation, and then go on from there. But I had committed to have that by the 20th.
Okay.
So that would be a good day to start the discussion.
All right. And let me. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal ball. Knowing this group, now that you've become intimate with this group in a business sense, when do you think an RFP could be ready for publication?
I think for sure by the fall. I mean, I think we look at getting it turned around as quickly as possible. And we've done some of the work here with the RFI.
How do you define the fall?
October-ish.
Okay. All right. That sounds reasonable to me.
Submitting it, or sending it out, or receiving it back?
Probably sending it out.
And then given how long?
How long do you all usually give? Do you all have a standard?
I would assume an RFP probably takes a little longer to prepare than an RFI. So is a 30-day kind of the norm?
Whatever you all usually do would be what I would recommend.
I'd say for just loose discussion, 30 days.
I'd say 30 to 60. I would say the majority of these people, some have already turned in an RFP. Others are already prepared. They've probably been working on it for months before the RFI even went out. So I would say 30, 45 days.
Yeah. Sounds real. Yes, sir. Commissioner Harris.
I got a couple of questions. And help me, follow me through this. So we give it RP, and if we have some questions, and they send us an RFP, and I know we talk about negotiating and all that stuff, but like I have some situation with Republic. One of the things is I want a landfill reclamation. Now, you see what I'm saying? I mean, they need to bid on that particular thing. So how do I say, do I wait till they give us an RFP? Do I send a questionnaire to Steve or
Well,
you?
I think I'm sure they're watching you, and I'm sure you just asked that question.
Do you have any more questions, Chairman Harris?
I'm sure it'll show up in our RFP.
I've asked for is a landfill reclamation, and that's what, I'd like to see price tags on that as well.
Well,
My idea is to fix it.
I'd say it's going to be an RFP.
Yeah.
And
So we asked that on RFP.
we can. And one of the things, I mean, I don't know that you want to make them separate, but you could make the landfill reclamation one RFP. I mean, it's not a lot of difference.
And then
but-
combine.
And then do the other pieces to it.
It could be a
Two
separate item.
but they'll be coincide.
Becky and I discussed whenever they made a decision on it, but do you put out one RFP as wide open as this RFI was, or do you put out multiple RFPs in a whole lot more narrow scope? If you're going to do waste to energy, or you're going to do recycling, or you're going to do landfill reclamation, how do you want to put it? To me, I don't know that it'd be much difference. Whoever's going to do it all is going to do it all anyway.
Yeah. I don't really see an advantage one way or the other there, because ultimately it's going to be the same.
I think one, and it's as broad as they want to submit.
Yeah.
You're going to see the folks down in National City that have mulching. That's kind of it. That narrows their scope, but then don't hinder any of the rest of them. Let them come in and price it separately, or to where we can pick and choose, or combine.
Yeah. I mean, you go down the list. E-waste, mulching, organics,
Shingles.
glass, shingles, C&D. C&D is a big one on my list.
It is.
Reclamation of the existing landfill. I mean, the list is going to be fairly large on what we want people to submit on.
I mean, some of the questions that I have also is like composting.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to put it when we have where to put it? Do we need warehouses? Do we need those kind of things?
No, we don't. They do.
Exactly. They're going to buy it from us to put it out there.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm just saying. There's little
Sure.
questions that they're not going to put in something.
Right. And as well as some of the waste to energy folks. Man, I love it. Burn it up, man. Nuke it. But who's your buyer? Who's your end user? Have you got somebody in place? If you don't talk to us. I mean, I don't want it piled sky high in their yard either. They need to find an end user. So, Commissioner Piercy.
On the reclamation of the landfill, I really think that should be bid maybe separately, put out a price separately, because that could start as soon as we agree to the price. And that will help alleviate our liability of that landfill in the coming future. Mac made a comment the other night how many million it was going to cost us to keep it in the next 10 years. And there's been figures shot through some of these returns that's a lot less than that. Of course, that was just a guesstimate, I'm sure. But I really think we ought to look at that pretty close, because we could do that probably in a year's time from now, and this other may take 3 to 4 years to ever work out. It's, I think we might ought to pull that separate somehow or another.
Well, I think that's a very good point, Commissioner, but like what I was saying, that let everybody just bid whatever they're going to bid and price it separately and then price it totally. Did we ever get a quote from the folks out of North Carolina?
We did not, we didn't ask for that yet.
But I think they have expressed an interest. I think they may be one who comes in on an RFP and says, that's all we want to do. We want to come in and we want to reclaim everything in that current landfill. We'll sell the dirt and reclaim all the plastics and aluminum and everything else. They didn't participate in the RFI, but I think they're planning on the RFP.
Commissioner Dunn.
So for both of Craig's and Steve's questions, we can craft our RFP to isolate some items, but still have one RFP, right? So they can get their needs met? Okay.
Yeah.
And instead of asking it as a question, I think we say, what is the answer that we want it to be? And we make it a statement in the RFP. Does that make sense? This is what we want, not may you, will you, could you. This is what we want.
You ready, Wayne? You're deferring. Okay. Any other questions? See, isn't this fun? Solid waste is awesome, man.
I don't know the answer to this. Did Sevierville not bid on this at all or not interested?
No.
None? Thank you.
Yeah.
Government, yeah.
Plus, this is just the RFI.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think they have any interest.
That's true, but they had some folks that might be, but like I said, this is just RFI. We may
hear from them
I think
later.
we'll have, we had 12 here in the RFI. I think we'll have 18 or 20 or something for the RFP.
Yeah.
Then again, we may lose a few, in what we designed in the RFP, but I think we'll have that close to 18 or so in the RFP.
Commissioner Blair.
My initial perception of this process was kind of like bidding on a huge commercial structure, that you have a price for what you've been given, but then you have add-ons as well, and everything is broken out into different values. Do you perceive that to be the case, or they'll just come in, hey, this is like that one company that accidentally gave us the numbers that first night? Do you perceive they'll just come in with one big number, and that's what we'll take in consideration,
Well, I think we need to tell them to break it down, because we might want to pick and choose.
It has to be per each item. Let's go with your building analogy, all right? I want to know how much the foundation work's going to cost, the electrical work's going to cost, the mechanicals are going to cost, the drywall is going to cost, the paint, the roof, the whole bit. I don't want a lump sum bid, because I don't know what you're going to do with a lump sum bid, right? I need a line item that if you're only going to do the drywall, it's going to cost you this, right? A lump sum for everything or partial, if they pick 3 technologies, C&D, organics, whatever, and say we'll do all 3 of those for $5 gazillion, that does us no good. That tells us nothing.
Well, that one company that gave us what we think is an RFP, where we're asking for the RFI, they basically gave us 2 prices. They gave us one big lump sum, and then for another process, it was several more million. So that's why I asked the question: are we going to ask for it to be broke down? That's
I think we should.
But again, we tell them what you want to see.
What we want, what we'd like to see.
And I picture a matrix that says these are the companies and here's the X, and they, the functions across the top, the companies down the left, or something of that nature. There's an X here. This company said yes, they were interested in composting and public education and whatever else. there's an X here, and then either a dollar amount or whatever you all want to see that will be a helpful tool for you to actually assess that and look at the details there.
Yeah, because if the little guys composting, I'm picking composting because it's the first thing that came to my mind. If the little guy's composting number is as good as the big guy's composting number, so be it. What loyalty or allegiancy do we have? Zero, right? I want the little guy to have the same opportunity as the big guy. So that's why we want, you can disagree if you want. I think we need individual pricing for the different technologies that we want. You're in construction, Phil. Don't you think that makes sense?
It does, and my thought is, yes, and some customers or some contractors may say, I'm in it for all, or I can't do anything. They may step out. Yeah. So I think we're just so all over the board with what we might get back. It's all the above. Yeah. All the above is going to occur if we craft the questions, or the demands rather. They're not questions, they're statements. Right. I think we can craft an RFP on the 20th and the 26th. I think by the 26th, we may be pretty close to having a bullet points to get the information to incorporate all of these wise concerns. And then I think we'll get a choice of individuals that we manage, or the choice of a facilitator that manages all of them, and something in between.
Yeah. Yeah. There'll be some serious negotiation. Yeah. I mean, if
Mr. Chairman, on that point, I would ask the committee to start crafting some of their bullet points and questions to
Becky.
turn in to Becky. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds real good. Becky.
I guess I raised my hand.
And she's in the room, and I said that. Great, isn't that good?
Here I am.
So, but that will help. That will help that next meeting then go a little smoother and already being started crafted. And so emailing her or emailing us, and we'll get them to her, however you want to do it. But it will help for us to start getting those questions and those things that we want to make sure that's in there is in there. And then what's not in that crafted RFP, once we go over it those next 2 nights then, or 2 meetings, then we can put that in there if it's not in there. And that way it would maybe save a little time, and then also making sure you've got in there what you want to see.
Right. Let me suggest this, since there's a weekend coming up in between. You've all read the 12 RFIs. It won't take long to reread or scan. Take a Sharpie, not a Sharpie, take a highlighter out and craft some questions out of the bodies of these 12 RFIs, because we want good questions. We want to look intelligent. We want to look smart. So do your homework. Earn your $30 a month. So let's pull some good questions out of a reread. Anything else? Our next meeting is August 19th at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. And that will be the final review of RFIs. And if we can get jump started on anything on the 19th, we will. Otherwise, RFP discussion will be on the 20th and 26th at 5:30, and continuing on if needed. Any old business, other business, new business, comments, gripes, pats on the back? What do you need? What do you want?
Are any of these next scheduled meetings going to have the municipalities involved yet?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think that would be the appropriate time. What I've shared with the mayors is once we go through the RFI, then we'll put the RFPs together, then we'll start bringing them in and negotiating. This was basically to eliminate us getting bogged down and taking a year to go through this with everybody else. We're doing a lot of the heavy lifting here, and then trying to streamline it. And then once the RFPs return would be the time that they would probably want to be engaged and decide yes or no. We are or we're not. But we're still in control. The county is.
The reason I brought that up is because of location.
Chairman, when you talk to the county attorney, can you also ask him if we created an authority between the caucus, we had to have state law for them to have any authority? Or would this be a county law, where we make policy, but do we have to have the approval of the state to form such an authority?
My first gut is, in order to form the authority, it's probably in code somewhere. But it would allow us to do that. I just don't know what the parameters would be. If it's by election, that the citizens have the right, or I just don't know what. Since we've never created an authority here, I don't know what the process is. I can call the county mayor up in Sevier County and ask him what their process was when they created an authority. Be happy to do that.
Duly noted. What else? Motion to adjourn. See you on July 19th, 6 p.m. Remember, this is adjusted time, 6 p.m. Did somebody call? What did I say? Oh, okay, August 19th, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman P.